In the top stories, new High Court judge sworn in, Governor General remembers Sir Cuthbert Sebastian, and Prime Minister Harris to host Health Walk. The details on these stories and more after the break. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Channel 5 newscast. I'm Carla Barrage. A new High Court judge has been sworn in. On Friday morning, Justice Perletta Lance took the oaths of office and allegiance during a brief ceremony at Government House in the presence of Governor General, His Excellency Sir S.W. Stapley Seaton, GCMG, CVO, QC, JP.
I, Perletta Lance, do swear that I will well and truly serve Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II as a High Court Judge of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court. So help me God.
Her Ladyship, the Honorable Justice Perletta Lance, will act as High Court Judge of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court for a period of 1 year with effect from 3rd of April 2017. Governor General His Excellency Sir S.W. Tapley Seaton has described former Governor General Sir Cuthbert Sebastian as a strong, open man who has left his mark in a variety of fields. In an interview with ZIZ News on Friday, His Excellency said he remembered Sir Cuthbert as a warm individual who was always willing to interact with anyone.
He was a strong personality. He was always very willing to meet situations. He in fact said as like his mantra was, you invite me, I'll come. And so any event that he was invited to, invariably he would attend. And so you saw him as a personality who was prepared to meet persons and to interact with them in a very favorable way.
He also noted that Sir Cuthbert has had an impact on his life as well.
I never expected to come into this office, but having assumed the office, he was extremely supportive at all times. I would extend invitations to him and he would attend the functions here, and we were able to interact at all times. So I saw him as someone who was an older person, but with whom I could interact very easily, and who gave me sage words of advice.
Sir Cuthbert Sebastian died on 25th of March. He was 95 years old. He served in St. Kitts, Nevis and Anguilla in a number of capacities, including pupil teacher, laboratory technician, senior dispenser, medical superintendent, obstetrician, gynecologist, and Governor General. Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris will kick off April with a constituency number 7 health walk on Saturday. Prime Minister Harris, the parliamentary representative for St. Christopher 7, will walk alongside residents of his constituency from Bellevue to Ottlers Village. Dr. Harris, who also serves as CARICOM's lead spokesperson on human resource, health and HIV matters, has been holding the constituency number 7 health walk for several years. With chronic non-communicable diseases becoming a significant issue in the Caribbean, Prime Minister Harris hosts the monthly health walks in a bid to promote healthier lifestyles among his constituents. According to Dr. Harris, the health walk is intended to encourage everyone to engage in unplanned physical activities and underscores the importance of an exercise regime that can lead to good health. Saturday's health walk will commence in Bellevue at 5:30 a.m. and will end at the Ottlers Hard Court, where participants will be treated to a light breakfast. After the break, Premier Amory expresses sadness on the passing of Carl Williams, and Shane Amory wanted by police. We'll tell you more when we come back. Premier of Nevis Honorable Vance Amory has expressed deep sadness on the sudden passing of Carl Williams, Permanent Secretary in Nevis's Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Information. In an address on Williams's passing, Premier Amory reminisced on the days of growing up with Williams in Gingerland.
It is, for me, a time which speaks to deep, deep sadness. I knew Carl as a boy growing up because we lived in the very same area in Gingerland. I in the rectory and he just across the church gut. The family which live next door, and myself, always very close. Family of the Reverend Mastine Nisbet, and so on. It means here we are, someone whom I've known, someone who I've grown to have great respect and a love for, as a young man who has served the country as a teacher, knowledgeable, and to know that suddenly he's taken away from us.
Premier Amory expressed his deepest condolences to Mrs. Randy Williams and her family. He said his thoughts and prayers are with them at this difficult time.
I really do feel for his wife, Hazel, and it was my privilege to go there on the night of his passing to offer my comfort and to share my condolences with her and the family. Now we are at the point where we have to recognize that in all of the challenges and trials of life, life is fleeting. And I want to express to Hazel that we in the Navy's administration will do what we can to ensure that her husband is given the type of send-off which he richly deserves.
Cal Williams died on Sunday, March 26th. Former student of the Fairchild High School and present pro footballer Gerard Williams made a presentation of trophies to the most outstanding male and female at the school's sports day in Co-C DeCosta and Unique Bedford. Williams, even though a pro footballer, said he loved track and field from an early age.
Came to this school and I was successful, you know. Well, I used to do running long time ago, but he had an opportunity where I had to choose either football or running, and the two teams going at the same time. So I decided to choose football. And I never regret, because over 10 years now I've been playing professional football in Trinidad and Tobago. Since I was home for a little vacation, I decided to give 2 trophies to the top male and female for sports there.
The awards were handed over at a special ceremony held during the school's assembly on Friday. DeCosta and Bedford are expected to represent the Fairchild High School this week at the Inter-School Championships at the Kim Collins Athletic Stadium. Gerard Williams is a pro footballer who plays as a midfielder for W Connection in Trinidad and Tobago Pro League. The police need your help to find a wanted man. A police press release issued on Friday says there is a warrant out for the arrest of Shane Amry of New Road. He is wanted for building breaking and theft at the Frigate Bay Strip earlier this month. He is 33 years old and 5 feet 8 inches tall. The police are asking anyone who knows the whereabouts of Shane Amry to call the Frigate Bay Police Station at 465-6899 or the nearest police station, or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-8477. You can also use the SKN Crime Reporter app on your smartphone. The police are warning persons to not approach Amry, but call the police instead. Coming up, Venezuela's president accused of coup. The details when we come back.
It's the Courts Home Event. Shop today and complete your kitchen, your dining room, and your entertainment room. Shop using Ready Finance. It's easy, affordable, and flexible credit. Plus, you pay nothing down on purchases 24 months and over. So come in today and get great deals to complete your home at the Courts Home Event. Courts, bringing value home.
The Speaker of Venezuela's opposition-controlled National Assembly has accused President Nicolas Maduro of staging a coup. The Supreme Court has given itself legislative powers while effectively shutting down Congress. Venezuela's opposition-controlled National Assembly is now pushing for a public referendum on the president's future. Al Jazeera's Teresa Bo reports from Buenos Aires.
Members of the Venezuelan opposition headed to the entrance of the Supreme Court to denounce a coup.
Esto es simplemente basura.
This is simply trash from those who have kidnapped the Constitution, kidnapped the rights and freedom of the Venezuelan people. This is what the Constitutional Court's decision means to us, trash.
Venezuela's Supreme Court took over legislative power, saying the assembly is in contempt. The pro-Maduro court has annulled many of the National Assembly's decisions since the opposition won a majority in 2015. But on Wednesday, it was clear it was taking over functions when it authorized President Nicolás Maduro to create oil joint ventures, overruling the standard legal procedure, which requires congressional approval.
It is the first time these two sentences give all the power to Nicolás Maduro to make whatever laws he feels like making, to make whatever contract he feels like making, to put the country in whatever debt he feels like, and to persecute Venezuelans in whatever way he feels like.
This is the last episode of an ongoing conflict between the socialist president and the opposition, which has been trying to force the government to call for elections. Venezuela is in a deep economic crisis with millions struggling for food and medicines. The international community says it's worried about the deteriorating political and social situation there. Countries like Peru announced they're withdrawing ambassadors from Venezuela. They want to implement the democratic charter in the Organization of American States and get Venezuela suspended. Earlier this week, Venezuela denounced foreign intervention during a meeting in Washington.
Hoy no se pretende castigar o sancionar a Venezuela.
Today, the intention is not to punish or place sanctions on Venezuela. They want to do away with the model which promotes the sovereignty and democracy exercised directly by the people.
But for the opposition, suspending the National Assembly is just another excuse to consolidate power, and that's why they're vowing to take to the streets to fight back. Teresa Bo, Al Jazeera, Buenos Aires.
The Guyana government is reminding that it does not have the capacity to provide jobs for everyone, but will create the environment for people, particularly young people, to become entrepreneurs and creators of employment. HGP's Warden James has more.
That statement was reiterated by Presidential Advisor on Youth Empowerment, Mr. Aubrey Norton, on Wednesday when he addressed youths of Regions 3, 4, and 9 who recently completed a 6-week financial literacy and small business training. Mr. Norton said that too often young people are being dealt with as a problem, but the government sees young people as a human resource that needs to be developed. Hence, his department continues to have programs to train youths in various fields.
In that regard, therefore, I hope this program would have contributed to your development in a significant way. This program has its genesis in the initial work to deal with the question of youth unemployment. Many there are who believe that government should provide all the jobs. The reality is, governments can't. Governments will not. They don't have the capacity to. But what governments can do is to, apart from providing some of the employment, is to facilitate the training of young people so that they can become entrepreneurs and they themselves become creators of employment.
Mr. Norton says he hopes that these and other training programs spearheaded by his office will help persons to move into private businesses and also expand and become employers, quoting a famous quote which says, "He who employs does better than he who is employed."
This certificate in itself is not the end. It cannot be the end. In fact, I am one who draws a distinction between certification and qualification. At present, you're being certified. You're given a piece of paper which says you have the capacity, or you would have looked at the content of the course. It becomes qualification when you can operationalize it and put it into practice and to use it efficaciously so that you can achieve your objectives.
Mr. Norton urged the graduates to never lose heart when they decided to go into business and fail on the first attempt. He stressed that most successful business persons tried until they succeed.
Don't see early failure as the end. See it as a challenge to learn from, to be surmounted, and to get up and go again until you achieve your objective of becoming a young, successful business person. Business, I will suggest to you, is the way for young people to go. I am a serious advocate for education, and I believe if education is combined with business, we will produce much better quality businessmen. I'm not saying that businessmen are not good in quality. But I'm suggesting that the combination of education and business skills is the kind of combination that will do Guyana well.
The presidential advisor said too that the success of countries and institutions is dependent on the kinds of human resources developed. He stressed that self-discipline is the key to success and urged the graduates to hold that above all else. Royden James, HGP Nightly News.
Coming up, Everest Huggins stops by to speak with us about an upcoming athletic competition. Upfront is next.
Hello and welcome to Upfront. The TDC Inter-School Championships are set to begin on Saturday, and with me in the studios tonight is the Public Relations Officer for the St. Kitts Nevis Amateur Athletics Association, Everest Huggins, to tell us more about this upcoming athletic event. Good evening, Everest.
Hi, good evening, Jason. Thank you for having me.
Well, welcome back. You're a staple here on ZIZ. We see you quite a lot. So now, Inter-School, as everyone commonly calls it, is coming up. What can people expect from this big event?
Well, I think it's the largest inter-school championships that we have to date. This is our 41st edition, and this year, like any other year, is going to be bigger and better. So we are quite excited to kick things off this afternoon. That is going to kick off at 4. It kicks off at 4:30 p.m. this afternoon, actually, and we expect a total of 431 athletes to be competing amongst 12 schools. Right now, the excitement is building amongst the crowd. Tickets are sold out for certain sections, in particular the Kim Collins Stadium for Sunday only, and the season passes for the Kim Collins Pavilion are sold out as well. So we are the numbers are indicating to us that we are going to be in for a big treat this weekend. So we are quite excited about that, and the preparations have been going quite well.
Now, I know you are normally in touch with the athletic community. Can you tell us, are any of the schools standing out?
Well, I mean, if one must consider past champions. For instance, you have this Charles E. Mills Secondary School, who was formerly known as the Sandy Point High School. They have won the championships more than 50% of the times. So more than 50% of the time that it's been in existence. So, of course, they are the defending champions. They are the 3-peat champions. They will be one of the schools to beat. You have to consider the Washington Archibald High School as well, who have always put up a fierce fight. It has always been a fierce battle between them two. I do think that this year we're going to see Charlestown Secondary School in the mix. Verchilds High School always come and bring something. And as far as I see, based on from the development meets, all of the schools have something special that they usually bring forward to the table. So it's going to be a fight right down to the end. There are 92 individual medals up for grabs and 16 relay medals up for grabs. So a total of 108 medals, 108 gold medals that is up for grabs. And that is what's at stake, plus the bragging rights to be the 2017 TDC Inter-School champion. So it's only one way to find out what's going to go on, and it's just for you to come out and witness athletics at its best.
Now, we were speaking earlier, and we had noted that the cheerleading competition hasn't been a part of Inter-School for quite a few years now. Any chance of it coming back?
Yes, definitely. I can tell you that, having evaluated the existing structure of the cheerleading, we realized that it needed some rejuvenating, and it requires a lot more planning and coordination, and I can tell you that we have a team of people who are prepared to take the cheerleading competition to the next level, and hopefully if everything comes if all the plans work out well, we shall see a cheerleading competition come to fruition back in 2018. So the groundwork is there already. We already acknowledge that it is a fringe activity, which is a supporting activity of the main event, and it is important to the cultural aspect of our society. So the SKNAAA recognizes that. We're not sleeping on it, but we're looking forward to putting our best foot forward to ensure that it's back in the future. That's great. Now we're almost out of time. Remind folks once again, date, time, location. So the date is Friday 31st. That's today. It started today. Friday 31st March 2017 through Sunday 2nd April 2017. The start time is 12 noon tomorrow, Saturday, and 12 noon on Sunday. I would like to take the opportunity to thank our sponsors, who is the TDC group of companies. They have been with us for 40 years. This is their 40th year sponsoring the championships. Also, thank you to our next sponsor, Flo. Also, Coscab. We also must thank contributors such as Sagico and Dreamy Decor and the Sinkits, the Carrier Brewery, Sinkits and Nevis Limited. The kickoff time, once again, 12 noon daily. And the admission, Kim Collins Pavilion, is $25 daily. And the general admission, which includes the silver stands, it's going to be $15. See you there at the Kim Collins Athletic Stadium this weekend.
Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you very much
for
letting us know about the upcoming TDC Inter-School Championships this weekend at the Kim Collins Athletic Stadium. Stay tuned. More news after this.
Courts must be crazy. Courts mad again. Courts must be crazy. You can't complain. It's madness. And courts during the month of March. Huge savings up to 50% off and pay nothing for 60 days. Visit a court store near you for pure madness. Look out for crazy deals up to 50% off and you pay nothing for 60 days. The mano only at court. To miss it would be pure madness. Courts must be crazy. What? Courts must be mad. Oh, you mean courts must be crazy? Courts mad again. Courts bringing value home.
The United States is calling for cuts to the UN mission in Democratic Republic of Congo before long-delayed elections are held this year. About 19,000 UN troops are protecting Congolese people from violence, but the U.S. is calling for a reduction to personnel amid increasing attacks and instability. Al Jazeera's Whitney Hurst reports.
The world's biggest and most expensive peacekeeping mission. 19,000 UN troops are protecting the people of Democratic Republic of the Congo, and it's a job that's getting tougher. There's increasing violence and political instability. Now, the U.S. is calling for big cuts to the mission's personnel.
The government is corrupt and preys on its citizens. At the same time, the UN peacekeeping mission is mandated to partner with the government to consolidate peace and security. In other words, the UN is aiding a government that is inflicting predatory behavior against its own people.
Despite pleas from its ally France, the U.S. wants to cut the force by a quarter. It's a politically fragile moment for the DRC. Long-delayed elections to find a successor for President Joseph Kabila are supposed to happen before the end of the year. His term was over at the end of 2016, but his government failed to hold elections on time. That led to protests and violence across the country. A group of Catholic bishops has been trying to mediate a deal between the opposition and the government, but they're withdrawing because of a lack of progress.
What more can the mediators do other than to bring everyone together? If everyone wants to sacrifice a country that is already on the verge of economic implosion, what can we do? Bishops have words, they do not have weapons. That is the sad reality.
The opposition has responded by calling for a nationwide protest on April 10th.
Je lance un appel solennel.
I make a solemn appeal to the Congolese people to take charge and mobilize against the re-establishment of a dictatorship in our country.
A deepening division between the two sides could mean more turmoil for the Congolese people. Whitney Hurst, Al Jazeera.
4 leading technology companies are due to meet the British government in the wake of an attack last week in London. The attacker used instant messaging service WhatsApp in the minutes before he killed 4 people at Westminster, but the messages cannot be decoded. Facebook, which owns WhatsApp, will be attending the meeting, along with representatives from Google, Microsoft, and Twitter. Al Jazeera's Neve Barker reports from London.
A week after the attack in central London and tributes are mounting outside Parliament. Behind the scenes, the investigation continues. But the British government believes that social media companies are hampering their inquiry. Minutes before mounting his attack, Khalid Massoud used WhatsApp, owned by Facebook, to send a message. All WhatsApp messages have end-to-end encryption, meaning security agencies and even WhatsApp can't access the potentially valuable information, even though it is possible to see who sent the message. Britain's Home Secretary says social media must do more to combat terrorism.
It is completely unacceptable. There should be no place for terrorists to hide. We need to make sure that organisations like WhatsApp, and there are plenty of others like that, don't provide a secret place for terrorists to communicate with each other.
For now, the government seems more interested in cooperating with the technology companies on a discretionary basis, rather than having to introduce any form of legislation to force them to do so. Human rights groups say that there is a need to balance the public's right to privacy with the government's right to know. We may not realise it, but encryption's something we all rely on.
Some of us have confidential information, whether that's about our business activities, perhaps we are engaging in medical practice, perhaps we're lawyers dealing with clients. But it also means things like your bank. You don't want your bank leaking your card details or financial information. So in all these circumstances, we need encryption.
Tech experts say it's impossible to create encryption technology that's only accessible to security services and not to cyber criminals or rogue governments. It's led some politicians to call for a ban on encryption altogether, but that could be harmful for Britain's growing digital industry. The only solution, say the experts, lies in technology that doesn't yet exist. Even when it does, it will require new levels of cooperation between the government and the tech giants, leaving the public's right to privacy in question. Neve Barker, Al Jazeera, London.
Up next in sports, NCAA Final Four teams gearing up for the big night, and North Carolina tries to save future NCAA events. Stay tuned. The NCAA Final Four teams are gearing up for the big night. On Saturday evening, South Carolina will face off against Gonzaga, followed by the Goliath UNC taking on Oregon to determine who will advance to NCAA championship game.
They're going to face off tomorrow, and TJ Holmes is here to break it all down. Break it down for us.
All right, straight hand. Look here, folks. You know that old adage, right? They say in sports, act like you've been there before. Well, two of these teams, they don't know how to act because they've never been there before. So give them a break. So look, everybody, put up your brackets. You're not going to win the office pool. You already lost. Just sit back because history is on the line with every bounce of the ball this weekend.
If North Carolina is Goliath with 5 championships under their belt, South Carolina, well, that's your David of the NCAA tournament. They're the ones who've been messing up your bracket. The Gamecocks hadn't even won a tournament game since 1973, but now they've won 4 in a row, and they're headed to their first ever Final Four.
We knew we had a group of guys that can make this dream come true.
Coach Frigg Martin said their tried and true strategy is to ignore the hoopla.
We're not playing the arena, we're playing Gonzaga. So we have to focus in on doing what we have to do to figure out a way to win that game.
They'll face off with another Final Four newbie, Gonzaga, known for their 7-foot secret weapons, including freshman Zach Collins. Last year, North Carolina's Luke May, he was a walk-on freshman. This year, he not only hit the game-winning shot against Kentucky, solidifying his team's slot in the Final Four, but he also managed a seemingly impossible feat. He made it to his 8 a.m. class the next Monday morning.
It's been pretty cool, and I've kind of embraced it, but we're moving on to Oregon. I'm looking forward to this weekend. Have an opportunity.
No NCAA tournament games for March Madness have been played in North Carolina this season because of the state's bathroom bill. In September, the NCAA announced it was moving previously awarded championship events from North Carolina during the 2016-2017 academic year. North Carolina is trying to save future NCAA events before the next 4 years of championship sites are selected.
Basketball-crazy North Carolina is trying to quickly please the NCAA before they select 4 years of championship sites. College athletics governing body has said that it is deciding on locations for tournaments through the spring of 2022 and that it would not award any to North Carolina if the law known as House Bill No. 2 was still on the books. On Thursday, amid the mounting pressure, North Carolina's Republican-controlled legislature voted to undo HB 2, and Democratic Governor Roy Cooper signed the measure into law. But it wasn't clear if that would satisfy the NCAA, which made no immediate decision on North Carolina's fate.
NBC has announced that U.S. viewers will be able to watch live coverage of the Winter Olympics no matter what time zone they live in. This update comes after the network announced the move to broadcast the games live with specific focus on the West Coast earlier this week.
When it comes to the Olympics and social media, it's definitely difficult to avoid spoilers in the U.S. In 2016, Twitter revealed the U.S. women's gymnastics team took home gold in the team all-around roughly 4 hours before NBC showed the competition on tape delay. NBC is trying to alleviate some of that frustration. The network announced it'll broadcast all of its 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Olympics coverage live from coast to coast. The fact that Pyeongchang will be 14 hours ahead of the U.S. East Coast works in NBC's favor. Popular events like figure skating and snowboarding are scheduled in the mornings, so U.S. viewers will be able to watch them live during NBC's primetime hours. This new live format could also help bolster NBC's ratings. An average of 25.4 million people tuned into the network's real primetime coverage each night, but that's about 6 million fewer people than the 2012 London Olympics. Along with its live television coverage, NBC still plans to stream thousands of hours of live Olympic events online.
When we come back, we'll have another look at the stories that made the headlines. Recapping the top stories. New High Court judge sworn in. Governor General remembers Sir Cuthbert Sebastian, and Prime Minister Harris to host a health walk. And that's the end of the ZIZ Channel 5 newscast. Thank you for joining us. I'm Gala Verage. Goodbye.